Hello, children. A warmful greeting to all my children across the state. On this wonderful day, through this video lesson, I'm taking you to the 8th standard English Unit 1 poem, My Hobby. My dear students, look at these pictures. A little kid playing guitar, children, some of the children reading books, and there are two children, they plant saplings. See these pictures too. There are some children, they are playing football, and there is a little girl, a pop singer singing song, and there is a boy who is watering the garden. There is a lady listening to music, and there are two children, they are happily dancing together. And one of the oldest hobbies, you see, collection of stamps. We call it in the name of philately, collecting stamps of various countries, of various periods. So this is one of the oldest hobbies, that is collection of stamps. And there is a mother, little mother, who is cooking. This is also one of the hobbies presented here. If you look at all these pictures, my dear children, you will come to know what is a hobby. In this video lesson, I am taking you to a wonderful poem, that is My Hobby, from 8th standard English. Hello children. In the previous prose lesson, that is Hobby Turns a Successful Career, we learned the importance of hobby and that a good hobby can change our life. Do you know, my dear kids, there are hobbies that can give pleasure and knowledge at the same time. This is the pure definition for a hobby. A hobby, what is a hobby? It's an intermediate stage between an entertainment and aim. It's neither an entertainment nor an aim. It's a middle stage, an intermediate stage. And then there are other hobbies you could have watched: playing, singing, listening to music. These are all some hobbies. If you list such hobbies, reading will top the list. There is no doubt. When we read a book, we can travel around the world and sometimes beyond the world at the comfort of our chair. What does it mean? We take a book and hold it. When you go through the text, you forget yourself, you travel around the world. That is the beautiful thing of reading. The hobby reading takes you around the world from your chair. That is the interesting thing. Reading makes a full man, says Francis Bacon. Father of English essays, Francis Bacon says, reading makes a full man. Yes, when you read, it makes you complete. This poem describes the importance of reading. Okay, this is the poem. Who has written it? The poet. Arunachalam Chandrasekharan is the poet of this poem. He is a professional in the library and information science. He is also a former MLA of Tamil Nadu from Cholamandan constituency. He has written and composed a nice poem. Before we read the text of the poem, we should understand some of the new terms employed by the poet in the poem. So see these new words. The first term is hobby. What is a hobby? An interesting occupation. Maybe a time pass, but it must be beneficial. You must be benefited from the hobby. So what is the meaning of breeding? It's procreation, amplification, or multiplication, whatever you can call. So when you breed, you accumulate things. See the next new term, near and far. Near and far. Close and distance. When you say that is near, that is close. Far, that is distant. Next term you see, rational. Rational is sensible or intelligence. Next term, a job, a new technical term. Most of you not have come across that term, that is a job. Half open. This is closed. When you open the door for halfway, that is a job. Next important term, that is cackle. You can see in the poem later. Cackle means giggle, an informal laughter. When you see some funny things in your friends, you can giggle. That is informal laughter, that is cackle. The next term, construct, that means build or make something specially, constructing. You can see the image too and understand the term. For each term, there is an image. Vigorous, something strong and powerful, that is vigorous. See the kid, yes, lifting his both arms, seeing, expressing the world that he is vigorous. There is another term, that is succeed, victory, positive result. In the final line of the poem, you can see the term, that is succeed. So far, we have understood the new terms that are presented in the poem written by Arunachalam Chandrasekharan. So here is the full text of the poem, my dear kids, titled My Hobby. The poem goes like this. My dear boys and girls, listen to my reading. I'm going to read the text of the poem line by line, slowly, concentrating the pronunciation of each term. Please follow me and listen to the reading. My hobby is reading. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought breeding. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought breeding. It takes me to places near and far. It takes me to places near and far. It keeps my rational dose ajar. It keeps my rational dose ajar. It teaches me to cackle and cry. It teaches me to cackle and cry. Without wings, it lets me fly. Without wings, it lets me fly. I wish if all the children could read. I wish if all the children could read in constructing a vigorous society, then we shall succeed. Poet Arunachalam Chandrasekharan. So this is the text of the poem, my dear boys and girls. I am reading aloud again. Listen to me carefully. A little bit faster. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought breeding. It takes me to places near and far. It keeps my rational dose ajar. It teaches me to cackle and cry. Without wings, it lets me fly. I wish if all the children could read in constructing a vigorous society, then we shall succeed. So from this text, what we understand, we are going to the next part of the video lesson, that is meaning of the poem. So I'm going to explain the poem line by line. You are going to follow me. The first line says, my hobby is reading. Dear students, for your convenience, semantically, that is meaningfully, I am dividing this poem into three parts. First line, and then following lines, and finally concluding 4 lines of the poem. First line, the poet confesses what is his hobby, and in the final concluding 4 lines, the poet stresses the purpose of reading and purpose of the poem too, why he has written the poem. See the first line, reading. Yeah, he lists out. What are the various benefits of reading? And in the final concluding 4 lines, the poet stresses the purpose of reading and purpose of the poem too. Why he has written the poem. See the first line, my hobby is reading. The poet declares in the very first line that reading is his hobby. See the second line, it helps me in thought breeding. It helps me in thought breeding. So when I read so much of text, my thoughts are accumulated. One thought leads to another thought. From that thought, we get another thought. So thoughts are accumulating. That is, it helps me in thought breeding. He says, reading helps me to grow and cultivate many good thoughts. See the next line. It takes me to places near and far. What is the meaning of this line? It takes me to the places near and far. So when you read a text, when you read a story or novel or a comic, a biography, you can come across this line. Once upon a time there lived a king in Arabia. So the moment you read the line, you feel, you imagine yourself to be there in Arabia. So that is the meaning of this line. Those thoughts take the poet not only to the places nearby, but also to the remote and far areas, sometimes beyond the universe. So this is the meaning of this line. So when you read a text, the content of the text takes you somewhere else. So you can imagine yourself anywhere in the world. See the next line. It keeps my rational dose ajar. It keeps my rational dose ajar. What is the meaning? Rational. So we saw the meaning of the term in the beginning itself. Rational dose ajar. So when you read, when you cultivate the habit of reading, your brain accumulates so much of things. It leads to a rational capacity or intelligence, the logical reasoning of your mind is increasing. So that is the meaning of this line. The poet compares his mind to a home and expresses that reading enables him to keep the doors of his mind unlocked and half open, to permit intelligence and logical reasoning. So see, he compares his mind to a home. If there is a home, there is a door. So the door is half open to allow the intelligence and logical reasoning to get in. So this is the meaning of the text. So at the same time, it prevents the unwanted entry of bad and wrong things. See the usefulness of reading. Two ways. It gives intelligence, at the same time, it cultivates you, makes you a good man. See the next line of the poem. It teaches me to cackle and cry. So this is one of the things you can enjoy while reading. When you listen to a drama, if there is a dramatic scene, you imagine yourself to be there in the place of hero and feeling the same emotion of the hero. If the hero is happy, you feel happiness. If the hero is sad, you feel sadness. So that thing can be found in reading too. Reading teaches the poet to experience both happiness and sorrow while reading. So when you read an interesting story that is in joyful mood, your mind becomes joyful. When you read a sad story, you cry, literally you cry and find tears on the pages of the book. Some books make him laugh loudly and some books make him cry. That is the meaning of this line. When you kids see the next line and its meaning, without wings, it lets me fly. Wow, what a line it is. Without wings. Actually, human beings don't have wings. We don't have wings. But it enables us, reading enables us to fly around the world. That can be imagination. So when you read a text, you imagine yourself to be there in the place. Reading does not restrict or control the thoughts of the poet. Without wings, It allows the thoughts to soar high and fly. So without wings, we fly around the world. That is the meaning of this poem. A normal human being, one can read and feel the same feeling. See the next line's meaning. These four lines already I have said. First line, that is the declaration part. The poet declares what is his hobby. In the succeeding lines, so far we did see the benefits of reading. In the final concluding four lines, this is the first line of that four lines. He says the purpose of life, purpose of reading, purpose of this poetry. I wish if all the children could read. He wishes, the poet aspires and wishes that all the children should develop the habit of reading. Even our government is stressing the same point. We should cultivate the habit of reading, my dear friends. The poet aspires that all the children should develop the habit of reading. They should read a lot other than their textbooks. That is the important point. We are reading the textbook. We are cramping the text for the examination. But we don't read other books other than our textbooks. So if you read the books written by our ancestors, great writers from the past, the monks, the famous orators, if you listen to those words, if you read all these terms, definitely you can cultivate yourself and you can attain worldly wisdom. Now we are moving into the interesting part of the video lesson, that is singing of the poem. My dear friends, poem is nothing but a song. A song can be sung. At the same time, a poem also can be sung if you understand the syllables clearly. So for the convenience of singing alone, the poem is not here technically presented. For the convenience of the singing alone, I have divided the poem into four parts. The first part, my hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. That is the first part. It takes me to places near and far. It keeps my rational dose a job. This is the second part. It teaches me to cackle and cry. Without wings, it lets me fly. This is the third part. I wish if all the children could read in constructing a vigorous society, then we shall succeed. This is the final concluding part. Take the first three lines as Pallavi, something that is repeated throughout the song. That is Pallavi. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. So it is repeated throughout the poem. And there are four-line stanzas followed. This Pallavi is followed by three four-line stanzas. In between these four-line stanzas, you can insert the Pallavi. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. And finally, the conclusion. After that also you can sing that Pallavi. First of all, I teach you, after the division of singing, first of all, I teach you the gesture of the poem. My hobby is reading. So this is the gesture. Listen to me. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. So when you think something, it look like this. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. It takes me to places like aeroplane. It takes me to places near and far. It keeps my rational dose ajar. It teaches me to cackle and cry. and cry. Without wings, it lets me fly. Without wings, it lets me fly. And final, for concluding lines, listen to the gesture. I wish if all the children could read in constructing a vigorous society, in constructing a vigorous society, then we shall succeed. So this is the gesture of the poem. So far we tasted the message of the poem. Now we are going to taste the music of the poem. So the singing goes like this. Poem, my hobby. La 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 la, la 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 la. My hobby is reading. My hobby is reading. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. La 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 la. La 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 la. So you should follow this la 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 through the song. So whenever you sing the Pallavi, it should be accompanied with the la 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 la. So little bit you should pronounce the word takes a bit longer. It takes me to places near and far. So this is the gesture also. It takes me to places near and far. It keeps my rational dosage on. It keeps my rational dosage on. It keeps my rational dosage on. It teaches me to cackle and cry. Without wings it lets me fly. Without wings it lets me fly. La 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 la. La 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 la. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. La 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 la. La 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 la. I wish if all the children could read. I wish if all the children could read. In constructing a vigorous society. In constructing a vigorous society, then we shall succeed. Then we shall succeed. La 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 la. La 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 la. My hobby is reading. It helps me in thought reading. La 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 la. La 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 la. So this is the singing of the poem. So you would have enjoyed the music of the poem. So there are four divisions. First division, that is Pallavi. My hobby is reading. It helps me. It helps me. That is, we are benefited. It helps me in thought reading. This we shall sing the song again later after the close of the poem. So written by Arunachalam Chandrasekharan. So the poem can also be sung for music. Let us get into the poetry appreciation part of the poem. So what is poetry appreciation? First, we saw the message of the poem, and then we saw the music of the poem, we enjoyed it, and now the technical part of the poem, that is poetry appreciation. How the poet has written the poem. What are the things he has introduced technically? First, rhyming words. Rhyming words can be understood easily. That is, rhyming words are two or more words that have the same or similar ending sound. So this is the definition for rhyming words. In this poem also you can come across so much of rhyming words, pairs of rhyming words. See the first pair, reading and breeding. So reading, the term reading rhymes with the term breeding. The term far rhymes with the term jaw. The term cry rhymes with the term fly. And finally, the term read rhymes with the term succeed. So rhyming words in Tamil we say that is punch dialogue we say. So that is the same thing you can find in poetry too. If you locate these rhyming words and use properly and pronounce properly, that can be the beauty of the poem. The next technical item of the poem is rhyme scheme. What is rhyme scheme? Scheme, we know that is something plan, and rhyme, we know that is similar sound. So, what is rhyme scheme? Based on which scheme the poet has written the poem, that is rhyme scheme. The technical pattern of the poem which determines the rhyme of the poem. For example, so next technical part of the poem is rhyme scheme. The technical pattern of the poem which determines the rhyme of the poem. For example, which two lines rhyme in the poem. You can find a rhyme in two adjacent lines as well as in two alternate lines. If that is adjacent lines, that is AABB, and if that is alternate lines, that is ABAB. So this is the technical part, that is rhyme scheme. My dear kids, I hope you did listen to me, and now I am going to check that answer my questions. That is, what is the hobby of the poet? Very good. That is reading. What does a jaw mean? I gestured. What is the meaning of a jaw? Yes, that is off open. That is a jaw. What do you do in the leisure time? If you answer this, that you have understood the meaning of what is a hobby. I appreciate all of you that you all listen to me very well and hope you would have enjoyed the teaching too. Finally, I stress the singing of the poem, that is la 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 la. Go through the text, sing yourself, and if you don't follow the tune of the poem, and repeat the video again and understand the singing too. That can be very interesting. See you all in next video lesson. Thank you all.